Well, welcome to another edition of Getting to Know Your Indiana Neighbor. And with us today is a coaching legend in Amber Decoursey. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
stepping back. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
about that. First of all, do you think anybody out there right now is yelling, "You traitor, Greg Bateman," for sitting down and talking
I
with
don't
you?
know. They might.
They might, but you know, greatness has no boundaries and certainly no county line. But speaking of which, county line,
Mm-hmm.
tell them how close a neighbor you were to Loogootee growing up.
I grew up right by the Loogootee Little League
I
Diamond.
know you did.
In fact, my sister Carrie and I, we always, growing up, we played Little League at Loogootee.
Did you? I
It
wondered
was
that.
just convenient for us to walk to
Yeah.
practice, walk to our games, and yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
that's,
did you even have an option of coming to Loogootee at that time?
well, back then it was, you go to the school that you are in district, in
Yeah.
county, and
Mhm.
or you pay tuition.
Right.
So yeah, so
Hmm. So you had to get up early in the morning, I'm sure, catch that bus, take a 7-mile trip,
that's
come
right.
home late. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Well, she found a home, that's for sure. But let's talk about your family growing up a little bit,
Okay.
Amber. Talk about your parents, who they are, siblings that you had growing up in that close to Loogootee High School.
Okay. So my mother grew up in a large family, maiden name Wagler. So she grew up in the Mennonite background, graduated from Bar Eve.
Okay.
My dad grew up um, in Montgomery, graduated from Bar Eve as well, and has a younger brother, a sister, and Mark Gwynn, who's
Sure.
is his brother, and so his son Jordan Gwynn also works here, and
It's a family affair here
yeah,
in Bar Eve.
yeah, and then his wife Jessica, who
Mhm.
was from Loogootee, also works here as well.
Yeah. So what did 10-year-old Amber Gwynn, what was she like? What was her desires growing up? What did you want to be when you were 10 years old? Do you remember?
Gosh, Carrie and I we just love sports.
Everything was sport.
Everything was
And
sports.
where'd you get that love?
I don't even, of course, none of my parents played.
Okay.
Of course, my mom grew up in a time in the
Right.
70s where, girls' athletics really
Mhm.
wasn't going yet, and my dad didn't play any sports. Um, but just, I don't know, my sister wanted to be a cheerleader,
Mhm.
and we just went to basketball practice one day, and boom, there it was. And, it wasn't really that big. I remember mom and dad not really coming to all the games and stuff whenever we were younger.
Mhm.
But yeah, we just both fell in love with basketball, and it was just basketball hardcore.
Natural talent for you, I assume. So whenever you went into fifth grade organized basketball, you were probably the best player. Is that fair?
Um, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Worked, Carrie and I worked really, really hard at
Mhm.
it. Dick Lemon um, was the varsity coach at the time and took an interest in us whenever our grade level, third, fourth, fifth grade. And that's whenever we started organized AAU. And he took us everywhere. So Dick Lemon was a huge part of that, um, and getting girls involved in basketball, playing basketball, and I can't thank him enough for everything that he did for us whenever we were younger.
Who would have been your fifth, sixth grade basketball coach?
Um, our fifth, sixth grade basketball coach was Carrie Heller
Okay.
and Jenny Foreman. I believe Jenny has since passed away, but they were also involved big time with Dick Lemon and the program, and they took us everywhere too. And then Carrie Heller ended up being Dick's JV varsity assistant coach in high school.
So at that time, for girls' sports at Bar Reeve, obviously you had basketball.
Hmm.
Did you have volleyball growing up up until high school? Did you participate in volleyball?
There was
There
not
was not.
elementary. You had summer camps. So you could go to summer camp starting like in the fourth grade.
Hmm.
So Ruth Ann Burkhart
Yeah.
ran those. But with volleyball, all you could look forward to was summer camp, 4th to 6th grade, and you could not play organized volleyball until junior high.
Did you like volleyball?
I liked it. I love
Love
basketball.
basketball?
Volleyball was something that I did just because I loved
Mm-hmm.
I love sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would those have been the only two participating sports? I mean, maybe track, cross country, anything?
We didn't have track.
No.
Girls didn't run cross country at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
It was volleyball, basketball, tennis. We didn't have softball at that time either. You could only play softball in the summer up to the 8th grade, and then you were done.
And was there a high school team at softball when you played?
No.
No, not at
Nope.
all.
We did not have our first high school team until '96,
Year after you
the
graduated.
year after I
Yeah.
graduated. That's right.
You would have played though, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You played a lot of baseball growing up.
A lot. Yeah, yeah.
What did you want to be when 10, 12, 13 years old, when you thought about, if you ever thought about life, what you want to be?
I wanted to be a vet
Okay.
just because I loved animals
Yeah.
and furry, cute animals. I didn't realize that, I would be dealing with pigs and hogs and 2 a.m. phone calls. Yeah. So when then dream was over after that.
Okay. Well, when did you want to become an educator, a teacher? Would that have been as you went from high school to college?
Yeah. Whenever I made that transition from high school to college, looking for a major, I knew I wanted to coach. And the easiest way to get into coaching was to get into education.
You wanted to coach basketball
At the time, yeah.
at the time, yeah.
At the time, yes. Hmm.
So high school, pretty successful, right? I mean, 1995 Indiana All-Star. Now you had the career scoring record. Do you still?
No. Addison Wagler has.
Oh, now you're talking boys and girls now. Okay.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about for the girls?
For the girls, Jennifer Madison
Oh, okay. All right.
ended up getting me by a point.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And no eligibility left for you, right?
She doesn't give me a hard time about that at all.
So did you do a recount? Did anybody go back and a free throw missed, free throw made?
No recount. No recount.
Wow, 1 point. That's
Yeah.
tough. I think you ought to look into that one.
But I always remind her how many more games she played
Yeah.
than I was able to
Doesn't
play.
matter.
No,
In the record book, doesn't matter.
I know it. I know it.
Let's see, 95, you had the three-point line,
Yes,
right?
but we could only play, I think, 18 games before
Yeah.
sectional. Now, what can they play? 20, 21,
Yeah, something like
22, something like that. And then we had, oh my gosh, I think we got the bye, like every year going into sectional. It seemed like, and then we had a couple, all 4 years, some snow out games that never got made up. If they weren't a conference
Yeah.
game or something like that.
She's not bitter.
I'm not bitter at
No,
all. No,
no.
nope.
No, that's kind of the beauty about, even as Peyton Bloodsall chases the record of Loogootee that's
Right.
been held 50 years, there wasn't a three-point line back then. There's more games or what have you, but
Right.
maybe more free throws. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, that's the record book.
That's right.
And that's the way it goes. Sorry.
Yeah, it does.
But your team's so good. I mean, I looked it up, 67-12 in 4 years, in your 4 years.
Mhm.
Never won a sectional,
Never was.
one single class,
Single class, we were always with Washington.
Washington. I think with Loogootee it was Bedford,
Hmm.
and never got there. So that would have prohibited even more points from you. But that had to be disappointing. All that success,
Mhm.
your success, all state, not getting that sectional.
It is disappointing, but I don't know if I would want it any other way.
Wouldn't want to change anything.
I don't think I would want to change anything. To move on, you had to beat the best.
Right.
And, at that time, Washington was definitely the best.
Mhm.
And, we played them tight, played them close every year.
Mhm. Were you a proponent of the one class system, or as you got older,
Mhm.
or are you comfortable that it's four classes, or somewhere in the middle?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle, because I know, looking at volleyball with our sectional, well, the way our sectional was before Success Factor, I don't think you could have had a tougher sectional than what we were in with our program and with Loogootie's program. But so yeah, the class system gave a lot of these girls opportunities that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have had, and success that otherwise that they wouldn't have. But I think me growing up as a player in the one class system, I I don't think I would have changed a thing there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I remember about Amber Gwynn in high school. Wasn't even on the court.
God.
Yeah, I know. But it's a
What
good
this going to be
No,
about?
this is cool. I was down here, I think, I'm going to guess it was a fifth or sixth grade middle game watching, junior high game watching the game or something. And you were in the popcorn stand, all right? You were working the popcorn machine. So I go in and get some popcorn. And she's already a standout. She's well known in Southern Indiana for her basketball, probably your senior year. And you were just so pleasant. I just in the popcorn stand. I remember that all those years
Oh,
ago.
well, thank you.
And I think it's because of the terrific athlete that you were, that you seemed very outgoing. You were professional even as a 17-year-old popcorn person.
Okay.
But I always remember that because that's not always the case. Everybody has different personalities, and whenever customer service isn't always what it used to be. But even back then, you noticed that. And that's what I noticed about you. I don't know what you did on the basketball court except for look at these records, So I think that speaks well for your character.
Thank you.
But you never would have thought that, would you?
Thank you very much.
So you played at Indiana State.
Yeah.
Were there other choices, other options?
I got some JUCO, NAIA, some smaller D1, but Indiana State just felt like home. I was AAU teammates with 3 or 4 of the girls that had already committed to Indiana State. At that time, the organization that I played for, AAU, was Mohoops out of Bloomington. That is probably about the same as in the volleyball club world as Circle City.
Okay.
So, but Mohoops was very, very big in Indiana. And, like I said, I had a couple teammates that went to Indiana State, and that's why.
Did the team have any success while you were there?
We struggled at, the coach that recruited me left.
That always happens.
Coach Reek ended up going back to Iowa, and then we got a new coach in, which is, for anyone that knows how that works, then they bring in their own recruits and their own. But, our record improved every year. My senior year, we went to the NIT. Which was very, very big. It was in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin, okay.
And so yeah, I mean, I would go back and do it all over again.
Bus rides, right?
A lot of plane. We flew. Yeah,
okay.
we flew a lot and a lot of charter. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. I went to Indiana State as well. Where did you stay on the campus?
Jones Hall.
I was in Jones Hall. Now it was a male only back then.
It was co-ed. It was co-ed.
Jones Hall.
That's right. Hey, yeah.
That's crazy. Well, so you go through Indiana State. What was the recruiting process, by the way, like at that time? More than 25 years ago, Amber. What was the recruiting process like at a small school going to college?
It was, well, of course now, I mean, there's some different, of course back then you didn't have email, you didn't have where coaches could reach out and email. So there was a lot of letters, a lot of letter writing and phone calls. And,
did they come to your games?
Yeah. Of course, not a lot has changed where recruiting is mainly done through the AAU circuit or club circuit in volleyball. So that hasn't really changed a lot. So, a lot of my recruiting came from AAU, going to nationals and things like that.
Yeah. What did a basketball scholarship for women look like in 1995 financially? Was it anything like it would be today? Were you comfortable with it, or was it this is all I get?
I was on a full ride.
Full ride.
I was on a full ride, so I paid nothing.
Wow.
So, and even with volleyball, I mean, Today, I think volleyball gives more full ride athletic than what but it was just not
Yeah.
like that.
How involved are you in the recruiting process when a coach is looking at, let's not use Dylan as an example
Okay.
because you're going to be involved, but you've had others. How involved are you in that process?
I am involved as much as the parents
Yeah.
and the athlete want me to be.
Right.
So, some do a lot of the work and say, okay, here's what I need you to do, and I do it. Or some come to me, I need help, I want to play, I don't know where to go, what I'm doing, where do I need to start? So it just depends on how involved they want me to be.
Okay. Usually probably quite a bit though, right?
Quite a bit.
Yeah. So your major in college was education?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
PE, physical education,
Okay.
and health. Mm-hmm.
All right. So your first teaching position would have been here in
Yes.
Montgomery?
Mhm.
Tell me about the process of getting that first position.
I was hired on for elementary PE, which I loved. I was elementary PE for 13 years
All right.
before I moved up 10 years ago to the high school.
Not as fun as elementary?
Oh my gosh, they love whatever you do.
Yeah.
They love
Yeah.
whatever they do. You get to the junior high age, and they're going to complain about everything.
Yeah. I understand that. I was there once. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, elementary. Now, what grades are you talking about elementary PE?
It was K through 6.
Woo. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
K
You did a
through
little
6.
hurting there, didn't you?
Oh yes, a lot of cat herding. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But it was fun.
I loved it.
And what are you doing
Loved
today, teaching wise?
I'm junior high PE girls
Today you are. Okay.
and high school health. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Freshman health.
So at what point did you meet the legendary Mike Decoursey?
I don't know if I can get that out without laughing.
I know. I could barely.
We met in between when I graduated from Indiana State in 2000 and
Okay.
my first year teaching. So that summer where I graduated until I started my first position.
Was he here teaching already?
He was still in school.
Still in school?
Yeah, he was still in school. We met
Mhm.
through some of my Loogootee friend connections. Yeah, so he was friends with them in college, and I was friends with the same group, and that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah. He's Pike Central High School, right?
He's Pike,
Where did he
yes.
go to college?
Okay, let's see. He started at VU and then went to USI and then transferred to Oakland City.
Yeah, couldn't make up his mind.
No, couldn't make up his mind. Yeah.
All right. Well, you found each other regardless, right? Was Mike, I don't want to make this all about Mike, but this is kind of what I do here. Was he a romantic or was it all about sports?
Big time sports.
Yeah.
Big time
Oh, I know
sports guy.
that. Yeah.
Really into politics.
No kidding.
Really
At
into
that age.
politics. But when we were dating, my first year coaching, he came to one game.
Okay.
He came to one game. Didn't like volleyball. Didn't understand volleyball.
Yeah.
He came to one match.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. Look at him now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, it really is the turning points in life.
And then our second year where he started to know some of the families more and get involved with the girls and stuff more. And then I think that was the turn where then he became obsessed with it.
Okay.
And then of course we go to Butler that year. We make it to state. And yeah, so it's just been.
What was it a romantic proposal?
Let's see.
While she's thinking, I asked her.
We were in Florida. We were on vacation in Florida, and I don't even remember. I just remember it was right after I threw up after eating something. And
the answer's no.
Yeah, so it was no. Yeah.
Is that right?
You may want to cut that part
Yeah,
out.
no. That's good. That's good. Okay. Hey, love took over, and here you are, exactly 20 years ago today.
Today.
Happy anniversary.
Today. Thank you.
And you're going to celebrate it how?
We're going to Daisy Jane's Christmas concert tonight.
Well, that'll be fun anyway.
Yeah.
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
You'll go out some other time, right? But you know what? How many of those birthdays, anniversaries have been spent right here at school in some form or fashion?
Yeah, a lot. And then, he was coaching junior high a lot of those years. So he had a game a lot. I coached junior high girls several of those years. So, yeah, or one of the kids had a game or something.
You know, I remember asking Coach Wagner this question, and it's impossible to really know the answer, but I guess a percentage of your lifetime that you have spent here at this school, physically in this school, particularly in gymnasiums and such, it's a lot, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know what, with him, and you're very similar in regards to teaching and things like that, but every single day for ever since you were just this big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been in a gym since, I mean, Dad would take Carrie and I mean, to ball games. I mean, when we were very, very small. I mean, so I remember going to ball games, home games, away games.
Yeah.
I mean, always.
Fell in love with it.
Always.
Yeah. Teaching at a small school like this, in a very small knit community, I know teaching has its rewards, has its challenges, but I have to believe that's got to be one of the great rewards because you know all the families and challenges as well.
Challenges as well.
But you know them personally, and it has to be very rewarding for you.
Just to see kids be in positions to be successful and succeed is very, very rewarding. Whether it's in the classroom, on the field, on the court, anything is very rewarding.
Well, do you even realize the impact that you've had on most of those kids you've just talked about? Because we've heard it, you know, you've heard it. But how do you feel when somebody comes back to you and, you know, it's, gosh, now 20 years later, possibly, telling you how much of an impact that you've had on them?
You know, since I've announced my resignation.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that, by the way.
You know, I got one message from a girl early in my coaching career and just thanking me. And now that she is a parent and adult herself, understanding, you know, when it seemed awful at the time or hard at the time, you know, the decisions that I made or had to make, and making those decisions for the benefit of a team, you know, just how she understands that now.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting messages like that are just
priceless. Yeah. That's cool. All right, stepping back. Okay. So that's probably accurate. I mean, I even thought that, because I'd heard rumor that you might step down. And obviously, Dylan Decoursey, her daughter, is signed on to play at Vincennes University. And from what I understand, Amber, you missed so many of her games early on that you weren't gonna miss them again.
I saw less than 5 of her junior high years.
Oh my gosh! Because you
now
played
that was
practice.
6th, 7th, and 8th together.
Wow.
6th, 7th, and 8th. I bet I didn't see her 5 times.
Wow. So now, are you going to go on the road with them?
We've talked about it. You know, it depending on where and, you know. So yeah, but we've talked about it. But it would not, whatever decision I made, if I stayed, somebody was going to get the short stick. You know, and I just don't do anything halfway. So, you know, either my kid was going to get it or the team was going to get it. So
stepping back, is there an option that you've discussed to where when Dylan's career is done playing, it possibly could be that you're back in the head coaching position? Have you got that far yet?
We haven't got that far yet. I said I never said never. So whoever does get the position, you know, I don't want them to feel that, oh, well, when Dylan's finished or whatever, you know, that is not my intent at all. That's why I would still hope to stay involved in the program with the varsity. You know, my Dacey's just a 4th grader. So getting involved with her elementary stuff, junior high stuff, just being involved and around the program wherever they want me, they being the head coach, and whatever they would like for me to do. But if an opportunity ever opened up later down the road and Dylan is finished and I'm not saying never.
So you're not burnt out.
I'm not burnt out. No.
It's just that this has come up and there's no other option for you, right? Except to step back and watch your daughter play. Okay. Was this a decision that it was very obvious, probably from the beginning of the year, that Dylan was probably going to play somewhere. So I'm guessing you and Mike had this discussion long ago that if this happens,
he didn't want to talk about it.
Did not want to talk about it.
He did not want to talk about it. Anytime that I would bring it up and talk about it, he would.
Well, why? I mean,
throw the guilt trip and all that stuff.
Okay.
But after the Loogootee game this year, when he had his meltdown, he knew then, okay, it's time.
Okay.
I don't know if he meant it was time for me or it's time for him. Maybe both.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It's tough, that's for sure. So 2013, you win your first state title, right?
Correct.
Your feeling once that final point is made by your team. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. I remember how it ended. They had an outside attack and they tipped it wide out of bounds.
Yeah, and that was it.
That was it.
And I know that coaches in particular at that moment, you're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about these kids. You're thinking about all those kids before, because this is a big deal, right?
And and going back to that year, it was very emotional that year. Brandon Wagler was killed that fall, and his sister was a part of our team. Megan was a part of the JV team that year. So there was just all kinds of emotions just going along with that.
Wow, I can imagine. So 3 state titles, all of them special. That one sounds like that was pretty special in itself, being the first. But that's the one with Dylan had to be pretty special, huh?
Yes, and coaching your own daughter in a state championship. And I remember Rakestraw. He had called and was interviewing me and asked me, well, how does it feel to have your daughter? And I was like, oh my God, I haven't even had time to think about it. I mean, you can't even enjoy your daughter being a part of this because there's just so much other stuff going into it and around it, just getting ready and preparing.
What were the challenges of coaching your daughter? Or a daughter. Even.
Okay.
Your daughter, but a daughter in particular.
Her feeling that I only picked on her.
Yeah, that's natural.
I was only negative towards her. Right. I only said negative stuff to her. It came to the point where my assistants, Tyler and Jennifer, basically had to take her.
Yeah.
So obviously I had my coaching things to tell her, but if something would happen during the game or she wasn't in the right spot or missed a block assignment or missed this, and Jen and Tyler would see me walking towards her, they would put their hand up and they would say, we got her.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right, well, you tell her, and I would tell them what, but.
Was this mostly her senior year or the whole 4 years you had her?
Well, her first year, her freshman year, yes, she was on varsity, but she played mainly JV.
Okay.
But yeah, so this was basically her last 3 years with me.
So,
it got to the point where some of my girls would keep bully marks.
Oh no.
They would say, Amber, that's a bully mark. Yeah. And then whenever I would give Dylan a compliment, they would say, okay, we took away a bully mark. Yeah. You're to 4 now, or you only have 3. But yeah.
Those conversations carry home to the dinner table sometime? No?
Tried not to.
Not to.
We tried not to ever discuss it whenever we got home.
How are you after a loss? One of your few losses. And I guess it depends on the opponent, how you played, but typically how would Mike describe you after a loss?
How would he describe me, or how would I describe him? I think that's 2 separate.
I'd say that's fair.
Okay, so here's how I look at it. Here's how I look at it, and here's what I would tell the girls. You have to handle losses the same way you handle wins. You got to handle it with with class. You got to handle it with giving, sometimes you just got to give the other team credit because they flat out came to play and flat out came to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to roll in it. We're not going to hang our heads. We're going to get back to work.
Do you think your players ever thought you were never satisfied? Because even
All
in
the time.
even in the wins,
Yeah.
I'm sure you go home and you're not happy with your team, how they played.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know they always had to feel like, gosh, where it's hard for teenagers to, the coach, we're still winning.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, we're still winning.
Yeah. We're 33-0, coach.
We're still winning.
Yeah.
And, I had a couple of those teams
Mm-hmm.
that, it's the end of the season. You lost one or undefeated heading into tournament, not playing well and getting them to understand it's going to get you. It's going to get you whenever, if you don't have your guard up. But those are the hard teams to get to understand that. But
how did the team do prior to you? What was the program like prior to you as head coach? I know Barry's always been good, but what was it like before you as a head coach? I don't recall the early 90s, late 80s.
Okay, so this program has never had a losing season. So this program was in good shape before I even got here, before I took over. So our head coach Ruth Ann had it in the 80s, and then Gloria Wirtz took it for 7-8 years there, and then it was Mike James took it. My sister, not a whole lot of people know this, she took it for a year.
Carrie?
She took it for 1 year. They were 21-7. And then I get out of college and, hey, Amber, we want you to take this. Oh my gosh, okay, what do I know about volleyball? I was just drilled basketball. So, and then it's been me ever since.
So you took over for your sister?
Yeah, she did it 1 year, and then.
And she was okay with it?
She was okay with that because then we just flip-flopped. Yeah. I took varsity, and she was my JV coach.
But you really didn't know a lot about volleyball?
I played in high school.
You just, the coaching aspect, you just
the
didn't.
Coaching aspect. No.
Well, what is, I'll say secret. There's no secret. I know that. But when we talk about Barry volleyball, I use the term, it's a machine. And I don't mean that in that the robots, but that the repetitive things you do are so successful that's why year after year you're successful. But what do you credit the success to in the Barry program?
I credit it to girls who are dedicated, who buy in, and who want to be committed, and who want to work hard. Because it is commitment. It is a big commitment. There are girls who drop because they didn't want that commitment, and that's okay.
That's right.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication. But the family commitment, the player commitment, and the buying in to what we're doing.
What's the difference in you handling parents the first 3 years as opposed to now? I mean, your mindset. I'm sure it was tough at times early on.
Right out of college, young.
Yeah.
But I held my ground.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's one thing that, somebody once told me that when I first started coaching, it was Brian Hughes. He said, Amber, you're going to find you're young. Parents are going to try to get to you. And he said, and you're also going to find every year you're going to lose friends with people that you thought were your friends.
Right.
I'm pretty much right on track. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Again, a small community, you already know everybody. Yeah. You think you're friends with them, and then it doesn't go that way. Yeah. But you have, we talked about Dylan, but you have other kids, right? And their names are?
Dane. Dane Michael is my middle son. And then, of course, Daisy Jane. Yeah. I think a lot of people know Daisy from running around the ball games and stuff. Yeah. She's in the 4th grade.
Is she still on track to transfer to Loogootee?
Depends on
How
What
young?
day?
Yeah.
Depends on
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, I don't know.
What
That's
day?
probably been 2 years ago now. Daisy and I had an exchange to where negotiations were in process because she liked the Loogootee playground equipment.
Yes,
Yeah, so she was going to move to Loogootee. I don't know where you
absolutely.
guys were going to go, but I think though her stance has softened a little bit as she's gotten a little older,
Oh
right?
my gosh, she's something else. So Dane is really into track,
Yeah.
and we took him when he was younger. He was in Rubik's Cube competition.
Mhm.
He could solve anything. He had 30 some Rubik's cubes that he could solve, and we went to competitions in Indianapolis and all kinds of stuff. And he's does very well academic. And then Daisy is as competitive and wants to play everything,
Yeah.
and yeah, very, very competitive.
Yeah. But you hope to be involved with her now, even more
Yes.
so from fourth grade on up, and
Mhm.
we'll see where, high school's a long way away.
If I can coach her.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Oh
I may.
yeah, that might be tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you again in about 10 years.
Yeah,
And we'll see how
exactly.
that challenge goes.
Yeah.
So, what else, Amber? I try to let people just have a little forum if they want it. What else didn't I ask, or that you'd like to talk about? Let people know about yourself, or anything at all. Is there anything that stands out?
Oh, gosh, you know how I am. I don't like to. Um, gosh, I don't even. I guess from this stepping back, resigning standpoint, I would just like to just take the time to thank just anyone. I mean, I had so many staff members over the years, volunteer, JV coaches, varsity assistants. I mean, that played and that still play a huge part in the success of this program. So just thanking all of them for their hard work and dedication too.
Happy anniversary.
Hey, thank you.
Make Mike take you to Red Bones or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So our Indiana neighbor, stepping back, but good things will come from that.
And I also want to thank you. I mean, I know you do an excellent job on the radio covering games, and I mean, covering our games as well, and just always being so pleasant.
Well, thank
and
you.
Stuff on the radio.
Thank you. And thank you for being our Indiana neighbor. I wish you would have been the Martin County Loogootee neighbor, but as it turned out, it turned out pretty good. Thank you, Amber.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. Amber Decoursey on your Indiana neighbor.